Welcome back, fellow American Horror Story fans, for another exciting episode of The Creep on American Horror Story, Season 6, My Roanoke Nightmare, Roanoke, Return to Roanoke, 3 Days in Hell. I'm really not quite sure exactly what we're calling it at this point, but the good news is that the Elvis man here is also going to be recapping whatever strategy they are approaching for this season, along with my most lovely guest and co-host, Miss Melody. So we left off with some pretty insane shit last episode. We actually saw Agnes bowing down to the real butcher and actually getting her head sliced in half, which I actually posted saying it's kind of intriguing that way because now both of her personalities have an equal side of the brain. But
she deserved that. And I'm glad she's dead.
When we open up, we actually see right where we left off the butcher in her ghost colony, the real ghost colony, just hacking Agnes's head to bits just over and over again. But that's where we're pretty much picking up, and we see Dominic and Lily Ray Shelby Jr. in her upstairs, basically fearing for their lives. And he's asking, how exactly we're going to keep them out of here. It's like, you don't. You can't. But they are.
At this point, what we have seen so far, with the ghosts, we saw what was his name? The little guy. What was his name? I can't remember. But he said that you could pretty much use the word Croatoan to get rid of the whatever ghosts and whatever was going on. Apparently that's not the case somehow with this. I mean, Shelby was there. She could have said Croatoan to these guys and had them back away, but I guess it doesn't work at this point. So that's a loophole they managed to sneak in there.
Yeah, we saw poor Cricket earlier on in the previous episodes and getting his guts ripped out, but what we're really trying to wonder what's going to happen right now is the craziness that is happening within this Roanoke house. Shelby and Dominic retreat to the basement, and they're basically going out through that same secret passage that Edward Philippe Mott created way back when the house was first constructed.
Right, and Shelby says, hey, you know what? Edward might be down here. He might be able to help us. And so they see something at the end of the tunnel, and they think maybe, it's Edward Mott, which I would like it to be Edward Mott, but no, it's the fucking Chin family, the family from the 70s that got murdered in the house, and they're going full on grudge ringu style in this family, and they're just they drive them back. They come through the hallway. Shelby and Matt have to retreat inside the house. Matt gets his hand injured, and from there they're like, oh great, we're stuck in the house again, what do we do? And then you go to the next scene.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing the Chans, but we definitely see a more interesting family picking up right there. We see the real Polk family, which the people who are watching closely and are big fans of HBO shows, they realize that Jane from Deadwood is actually Mama Polk. And we see Lee strapped in the chair and, Mama Polk sharpening her knife and telling Finn Whitrock, or some form of Finn Whitrock, that we are almost ashamed to see such a guy look like a slack-jawed yokel inbred redneck from West Virginia's crazy deep backwoods.
It's North Carolina, and they're the Polk family, and they're very well established. It's not West Virginia. This is North Carolina, which, as a South Carolina native who grew up partially in North Carolina, I've seen worse. What do you want? I've seen worse. But she compels Jether, who is Finn Whitrock, to tell Lee, who is captive, the story or the history of their family. And he's like, oh, Mama, I'm not good at stories. And you don't expect someone to be good at reliving a family's history.
But as far as the family history goes, we realize that it's kind of in another link to whole like HBO Carnival, like during the whole dust thing and the Great Depression. They're talking about how, you know, that's basically where their family kind of realized what they needed to do to survive. Because in the Depression, they had like that one last animal that was surviving, and the interlopers, if I may, on their land.
Well, they called them hobos. It was these hobos on their land.
And they basically killed their very last animal, their livestock, and that's when the Polk family realized, you know what, we're going to survive. We're going to do whatever we have to do.
That's important. So, they killed their pig, their last pig. Yep. Get it? The pig farmers.
It was pretty gruesome as far as that whole depiction goes, but it was even worse when Mama Polk started reaching back and loving on her son's leg. So now we're really getting the whole inbred sense going on here now. But
keeping
Mama Polk
is alive.
Yeah, whatever. But anyways, we see Mama Polk and Jether, yes, Finn Whitrock's character, and he's settling down to hack off another layer of Lee. So
can we pause the video right here for a sec? Because I want to say a thing or two.
That's pretty rough.
I would really like to elaborate on the brutality of the scene. It might be overlooked because it is just, you know, an AMC show, but I don't know if you guys have ever read Cormac.
FX. Sorry.
Cormac McCarthy's The Road. The Road. And there was also the movie The Road with Viggo Mortensen. What they would do, it's post-apocalyptic, which this is not, but I mean they're fucking hillbillies, so whatever. What they would do, they would capture people, they would cut off an arm, mostly legs, because leg meat, but they would cut off a leg and then cauterize, fire up like a semi-automatic machine gun, automatic machine gun, or take an iron and seal the wound off so the person would stay alive so they could harvest more of their meat later. And this is what the Polk family does. They'll take a little bit and burn the flesh so it heals.
Cauterizing it.
Yeah, cauterizing. And right here we see Lee being the victim of such a practice. They're not cutting off a limb, but they are slicing off the very tender parts of meat.
So Mama Polk can make her jerky, her human jerky.
Yeah, her people jerky. It's
nasty.
Soylent Green is people.
Well, let's get back to it. Let's get started again. But anyways, we see carve off a layer of poor Lee's leg, and she is just screaming bloody murder. And then we switch back over to another scene where we see a jar of what I can only assume is embalming fluid, and then they drop an ear.
No, pickle juice.
Yeah, well, whatever it may be.
No, that's pickling spice. That's like dill and onion spice.
Ear. Yeah, while she passed out in pain, they cut her ear off.
Yeah, he cuts off her ear.
And she realizes it too. And he's like, oh, well, we have this tradition at Christmas where we give each other an ear. Like, that is got to be the most disgusting and insane.
Oh, it's a present. Merry Christmas.
I'm starting to get a real Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe here. At this point, you know, they're giving each other body parts for freaking Christmas and God's whatnot. Oh, it's pretty gross. I mean,
well,
yeah.
At this point, he's going over what they do at Christmas. He's like, everybody gets like a jar of molasses and some eucalyptus, and the little babies. This is where, pause for a second. I want to explore the mentality of Finn Whitrock, because he is a fucked up character. He's your quintessential inbred hillbilly or redneck. Not really a hillbilly because they're in North Carolina. It would depend on where in North Carolina if you qualify as a hillbilly or not.
And yet he has a soft side.
What?
And yet he has a soft side. We get that vibe.
Of course he does. He mentions that he is a middle child. He is too old to be cuddled by mama at Christmas, but he's too young to share her bed, which he mentions a lot, which is, I guess, the old guy with the beard. I think that's what he is. So he's sad because he's stuck in the middle. So middle child syndrome kicks in, and you want someone to feel compassionate. You want someone to empathize with you. And right now, Lee, like, fucking, like, yes, okay, Lee's a murderer and she's a psychopath. But right now, oh, I didn't mean to let that slip. Oops. But right now, Lee is recognizing the weaknesses in this man, and she is about to play them up beautifully, grossly, very grossly. I really like Lee. I'm pulling for it at this point, but I'm gonna hit the play.
Let's get back.
Yeah, let's get back.
See Lee playing into the whole situation.
I Want Another Christmas with Flora.
He's not intelligent. He's not intelligent. So her being she starts playing into the role a little bit. She realizes that she's kind of screwed, and the one chance she has is freed from her bonds from the chair. So she starts playing into the role a little bit, and kind of coming on to Jether and basically appealing to him in a nature that he's being deprived of, because he can't be coddled, and yet he can't have relations with mama.
Right. So, and knowing them, they don't have the education to know what puberty or what sexuality is. And he hides behind this camera, which is really weird. He has to film everything. There's one point where she is trying to lure him into letting him go, lure him into letting her go, and he says, yes, I would like to film it first. And if I may, oh, what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what makes this whole scene that's going on right now the most interesting is the fact that we get our reference back to Murder House, the very first season, where Ben Harmon was dealing with the guy who had the fear that the piggy man was going to come and kill him. The guy that was, you saw a pig. No, basically he slaughtered pigs, but he enjoyed it so much and then developed a habit to wanting to kill people, where he would wear a pig mask.
The piggy man thing's mine, right?
The piggy man. But he's talking about...
elaborate on piggy man right now?
Well, we come to learn that as Jether talks about this whole thing, that the guy's name was Kincaid Polk. He was one of them. That's how long and how far back their family goes in this land. And even though they're cannibals, they have a very deep-seated relationship with the American Horror Story storyline. So
I'm going to interrupt you right now, and we're going to pause the video, because if you want to bring up Piggy Man, I'm going to talk about Piggy Man. So I'm pausing right now, and I'm going to take over the thing, because I would. All right. Back. Let me tell you folks a story. Back before we knew what the theme for this season was going to be, they were releasing all these teasers. There was one in particular. All you saw was a house with smoke coming out of it, but you could hear in the background pigs screaming.
And a chainsaw.
Screaming. What?
And a chainsaw.
And a chainsaw. Yes, absolutely. So back before we knew the theme, I was really into, like, what the hell is the theme for this season? So I started doing a little bit of research. Turns out Ryan Murphy really has a thing for serial killers. I'm going to bring up my 1990s schoolhouse paper right now. There was a man during this scene, a previous scene, Jether and Mama Poke they're talking about their family, the first family, why they started the cannibalism. They attribute it to a Kincaid Polk, which is their ancestor.
From the
He
1800s.
was, sorry, what?
From the 1800s.
Yes,
that's how far back it goes.
Like so way back, like butcher era. Era. But this guy was real, everybody. This pig farm killer, this is based off of a real person that really did some fucked up shit. His name was Robert Picton. He was deemed the Piggy Man. He was also deemed the Pig Farm Killer and Pork Chop Bob. Can you imagine being murdered by someone named Pork Chop Bob?
It's like Buffalo Bill.
He was convicted in 2007. This is real. This isn't AHS. This is real. Convicted in 2007 for the murder of at least 6 women in his slaughterhouse. He was also he worked in a slaughterhouse. They slaughtered pigs. He would trap women, and he would take their bodies and slice them open and hang them upside down and drain their blood into a bathtub. Piggy Man was real. I'm not sure if he's still alive or not. I didn't want to research that far into it, because if he's still alive, maybe he shouldn't still be alive. But this Robert Picton and Kincaid Polk are the same guy. It's fiction copying reality, and I just thought that was amazing. And I also thought that my prediction, like from way back then, like before we started doing the podcast, I was right. And I just wanted to brag a little bit that I was right.
Okay, your research paid off, yes, but let's get back to it, okay? We don't want to get too far off and too trail off, but we're going back.
Actually, it's not too far off, because these details mean a lot with the series, because later on we see something that might contribute to the theory, but we don't know enough about it yet. So it's not veering far off. It's actually giving background to the premise, which I find is very important. But yes,
on realistic moments. It's definitely based on realistic moments, which makes it good as far as American Horror Story goes. But when we get back to the Polk farm again, and we see Lee still tied up and talking to Jether, Jether is enjoying himself some lines of white powder, and he offers it to Lee because he knows that his mother, Mama Polk, is going to be coming in soon to carve off another chunk of her. And that's when we get this interesting shot of her, Jether, and her ear in the embalming fluid still, which I think still pretty messed up. But
pickled ears, Merry Christmas.
That's disgusting. But he's basically telling her, you want to take this, because when she comes in here to start carving you up again, it'll probably take a little bit of the pain away. But she's asking him, where does it end? And he says, even after we carve off all the best parts, we're going to make bone broth, which means that even whatever's left of you, we're just going to break up and put into a stew anyways.
Yeah.
So Lee, being the recovering addict that she is, she actually starts contemplating the idea of accepting this little...
She thinks she's going to die, and I mean, she's looked at pictures of her daughter, and she really thinks she's going to die at this point, and it just takes her over, and she's like, "Aw, fuck it. Give me that shit."
So we go back to the Roanoke house, and Dominic and Shelby are running for their lives from the Chen family, who decided to show up instead of Edward Mott.
The Chens are so scary.
As they're running up the stairs, Dominic ends up getting his hand caught in the door and smashed pretty hard. So while he's reaching into the freezer for some ice, Shelby is just kind of ducking down next to the cabinets and saying, that we're just going to die in here. There's no hope for us. This is the only reason that I can't get here from Matt.
She's been through that, so she didn't even want to go back. The only reason she was back was because of Matt.
And that
Matt
basically
fucked the fucking Scavenge.
It took a very interesting turn in the last episode when we realized that the only reason Matt came back was to get with the Scavenge. Yes, and
not his fault. Not his fault.
He lost a piece of himself when they originally moved in there. He even told her that in one of the earlier episodes. That I have not felt human since
he knew
this place.
He knew that shit. He knew. He told Shelby. He was honest with her. I came back for Lady Gaga because who wouldn't? But seriously, yeah, Shelby is torn to bits and she's ready to give up at this point. And fake Matt. Dominic is saying, "Come on, girl, get up. We got to fight. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to stick together."
And who shows up?
I don't know who shows up.
The Piggy Man. The Piggy Man shows up and actually stabs Dominic in the back. Well, not like directly in the back. He gets him in the shoulder. And that's when Shelby
right there.
Hits him in the head, the Piggy Man in the head with a knife. And now they're running and they're trying to get upstairs, and the Chen family's attacking them again. It's like raining hellfire in the Roanoke house right now.
This house is fucked.
While this is all going on, all of a sudden the chandelier falls.
And then they try to run to the front door. And, oh my God, it's the butchers and the others. Like, oh God.
Not the butchers and the others. It's the nurses. It's the Piggy Man. It's the Chen family. They're all the victims of the house that are right there down there greeting them at the fucking staircase. And the terrible thing about it is they can't do anything about it. So they run back upstairs again because there's obviously no place to go. And that's literally the only retreat that they have because there's no way out. The others are outside because they're starting to hack their way through the door with an axe.
And they're injured, so what do? You can't fight, so you have to run, you have to hobble, you have to stumble toward... They keep going back to this bedroom.
They're not in the bedroom. They're actually in the bathroom. They're in the upstairs bathroom, which is actually where they end up actually after that. Well, after Matt got his head smashed in by Shelby in the last episode, this is where they retreated to. This is where Dominic, he coaxed Shelby to letting go of the crowbar and trying to calm her down because
she says, "Oh, what? We're back where we started."
It's not.
This poor girl.
Really well. It's not.
Shelby has been mutilated through this whole thing. She has endured trauma to the shoulder, emotional trauma. I mean, she fucking killed Matt. What the?
She smashed his head in with a crowbar. We're not talking like a crime of passion here because she really laid into him. I remember the count.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a crime of passion. 10. I would just take... The house and the situation is going to have an effect on you. And I would not call that a crime of passion. I would call that fucking going crazy. She went crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of that, as Dominic and Shelby are locked into the bathroom and they're basically talking about the fact that this is insane, there's no escape, and how the fact that she loved Matt, that was the only reason she came back to begin with. And now that he's dead, she killed him, for God's sake. And she still had that kitchen knife after she stabbed the Piggy Man, after Piggy Man attacked Dominic. And so she's basically sitting there in the corner in the bathroom and telling him as he's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And she's like, you know what? Matt's the only man I ever loved. And there literally is no escape from this. And she literally slices her own throat with a kitchen knife. And Dominic goes in to try and, like, save her and, like, plug the wound. But that's where we get one of our cutscenes.
You said that you expected that.
I did. If anybody's been watching the show, if anybody's been watching the show, they know that Shelby has gone through some serious mental trauma. And now that she's back in the same house again during the blood moon, and we know what happened to them from watching the show, the parody of their story to begin with. We know what they went through. And she went back again amongst all that craziness and murder, mayhem, death, and still decided to try and patch up things with Matt. Little did she know that Matt was only there to meet up with Scavenge again. But she had nothing left. Matt was gone. They knew that there was going to be some serious crazy murder, mayhem nonsense at the hands of the colony. So why bother letting them choose when she could just end it herself right then and there? That's probably why she decided to.
I can understand her reasoning with wanting to off herself, because she said herself she has nothing else to live for. But I did not see that coming so quickly, because she went from let's run, let's hide, let's go through the tunnel, let's try to get out, to I'm going to kill myself. It was a very quick character progression in that sense. And I honestly did not see that happening with her. And when she did it, I was very surprised. Moving on.
So let's get back and start again. Here we go, and we actually come from the last cutscene, and we see Lee in the chair, back with Finn Wittrock's character again. I'm not quite sure. Jether. You know, weird names. Where the hell do they come up with this shit? But
okay, if you want to pause again, pause real quick.
No.
It won't take long.
No. Let's get back onto it again.
We are providing a.
There's nothing to deal with that right now. No. Jether, Jed, Lot. Those are very fucking hillbilly mountain names, and that's where the name comes from. And let's continue. Play. When we come back in, we actually see Lee asking Jether to pull the picture out of her back pocket and let her see Flora for the first time in a while and say goodbye or just talk to her or whatever it is. She's basically pulling the psychological move on Jether and trying to play on his emotions, because we learned earlier on that he has not really killed anyone. He hasn't ever. He may have caused pain, but he's never killed anyone. And he's still kind of on the fence when it comes to doing this stuff. But we end up seeing him kneel down and just really, really try and relate to Lee at that moment where she is the most vulnerable, and she's had her leg carved up and her shoulder carved up, and all she wants to do is see that picture of her daughter. It's pretty gruesome. And it's at this point we actually hear something fairly interesting, because it goes back to what Sydney was saying when we saw the second rendition of this season. He's like, I want to see Lee confess to murder on camera. And what's crazy is this is where we actually see that. She says, I killed your daddy. I did it because he was going to take you away from me. Which is really, really messed up to hear at this point.
If we may pause for a second so we can talk briefly about this. Briefly, I may add. Lee does confess to the crime. But the way Mason's corpse was put up like a sacrifice, I still don't think that Lee did it. I don't think Lee did it. I think she is confessing right now so she can give her daughter peace. The whole series, the only thing Lee has wanted was the safety and comfort of her daughter. So at this point, I think Lee is lying about killing Mason.
That's a possibility.
I mean, yeah, okay, if she killed Mason, like just straight up like stabbed him or shot him, left his body out in the open, okay, yeah, I'd believe that, but putting him up, fucking ritual style, I don't believe that. I think that Lee right now is trying to give her daughter comfort because Lee thinks she's going to die right now. She's not going to give up fighting, but if she does, she wants her daughter to have comfort. She wants her to have closure.
The last stand.
Yes.
Telling
yes.
all.
But I do not think that Lee killed Mason. I just don't, because the way he was hung up like that, I mean, that's some Kathy Bates shit right there.
So let's get back to it. We're seeing Lee confess to Mason being killed, and that's where this conversation gets very interesting because she's not exactly someone who could lift a 220 plus pound guy into a tree.
That is a very good point.
So
how would she even pick him up to put him up there? If you guys remember, Mason was pretty much like this, like on that tree, like She's not ritualistic like that, but she's still saying to Flora, "I killed Daddy," which could be very innocence, could be very noble, because she wants to put Flora's mind at ease and say, yeah, I killed him. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And she's giving this very, like, the speech that says, Flora, you can go out and you can be your own woman and you can be powerful and you can do whatever you want. I killed Daddy. Now you don't have to know what really happened, pretty much.
But this whole time, as we're watching the scene, we realize that the whole reason she's doing all this is to play on Jether's sympathies, because he has not killed anyone yet. And she realizes that, and she's trying to play on his emotions a little bit. And as he approaches her, she starts playing the seductive role. Like, you want to touch me, you want to do this, you want to do that. And that's when Jether finally drops his guard and starts, pulling off her restraints on her arms. And what we really want to happen finally happens. We see Lee take a shot at his nuts and basically, yeah, she incapacitates him. But the way that we know it is that she pulls the MMA rear naked choke action, gets him in the armbar action. And, well, not armbar, excuse me, rear naked choke. And
no, it's a chokehold, and it's meant to, quick anatomy lesson for everybody. When you do a choke, it looks like this, and it has an effect against your blood vessels, not so much your windpipe. So if you apply a chokehold effectively, it's here with head down. I can't do it with another person, but what she does is a chokehold, and she cuts off activity to the brain via the blood vessels. She suppresses the blood vessels, so she knocks him out. She does not kill him. If you want, you can put your forearm here and crush someone's windpipe and kill them.
Well, anyways, even though she did kind of incapacitate him, she could have killed him like that if she wanted to, but
Lee can fucking do anything she wants. Lee is a strong woman.
Yeah, but here's the crazy thing. She decided to not kill him that way. She decided to pick up a knife and drive it into with the side of his skull and then take him. So then we come back and
gory that way
as Dominic, and he's still yelling at a Sydney who is pretty dead at this point, as we all know. And saying that you need to come and save me. I want my show. I want my spin-off. I want to have my own show. But that's not going to happen for poor Sydney.
Oh, we're talking about Sydney. Yeah, Sydney is in a point of trying to deny everything that's happened. I mean, he saw fucking Audrey kill herself. Audrey?
Sydney is dead.
People die, and he's still talking to the imaginary camera saying, Sydney, please save me.
He's dead. Long dead. Sydney is dead as hell. Killed by
Sydney is dead as fuck.
I mean, and let's not dwell on him because we got people who are still alive in this nightmare that are still doing their thing.
Who's still alive? Audrey's still alive. Dominic is still alive at this point. Monet is probably still alive because we haven't seen her die, so she's probably still alive.
Here's the crazy thing about this next scene is that we go in and we see Monet, who is Angela Bassett, and Sarah Paulson, who is Audrey, and they're tied up, and we see the Polk family. They're talking about the teeth and how the younger Polk son, brother, uncle, motherfucker, whoever the hell this guy is.
That sounds accurate. Uncle, brother, father, motherfucker. That's very accurate.
They're talking about how that it has not rained teeth in a long time, and their necklaces that they like to make, which makes them so-called fireproof, they have not actually had enough teeth to complete their necklaces, which is strange. But then again, there's a lot of the stuff in this season that is
they all have these crazy beliefs, like if you wear a necklace of teeth, you won't die or get set on fire, and they think that it really rains teeth. We don't know that for sure because they never actually set the teeth that they have on fire. So we don't know if it rains teeth or not. I would like to know if it rains teeth.
Teeth don't burn. Teeth don't burn. They're made of like a porcelain and ivory-ish material.
Yeah, they're carbon-based, so you have to heat them up a lot. Teeth, I mean, this is scientific. Teeth are carbon-based, just like we're carbon-based, just like you can't just burn bones. Like, if you burn bones, you still can get DNA from them, but anyway, they're trying to take, they're like, we need more teeth, and they're trying to take them from Angela Bassett. So he's like, open your mouth, and this was so cringy.
Yeah.
You're gonna take her teeth. Ugh.
Yank the teeth out is definitely a pretty cringe-worthy moment as far as the series goes, especially if you've ever actually had to go to the dentist and have a tooth yanked.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but you do.
Crazy shit. It's pretty gross.
Well, anyway, they're fighting over Angela Bassett's teeth.
You're never going to actually feel it, but you feel it. You feel it one way or another. Separating what a portion of your skull is definitely not something you do not feel. Like when you go to have your wisdom teeth pulled out. Yeah.
Oh, I had that.
You're not going to feel anything, but unless you have high dollar dental insurance, they're going to.
I did. Thank the gods. I had good. My parents paid for my wisdom teeth getting put. My mom, we went for a Frosty afterwards, and she's laughing at me because I'm like, I can't get the spoon in my mouth. But poor Angela Bassett right now, they try to pull out her teeth. She spits on them, and then the chair breaks. So she gets up and beats him up. And she runs off. She runs off. So Audrey is left there by herself. She's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Please don't hurt me. And being typical Audrey. Oh, God.
Yeah, Mama Paul comes in with her pair of vice grips and basically says, open your mouth or I will make you open your mouth. And by making you open your mouth, she means I will mess you up with a pair of vice grips.
And Audrey, being Audrey with her Burberry and her richness and her London accent, says, I paid good money for these teeth. And she spits on Mama Poke, spits blood and spits whatever right on her face. I commend her for that. That's brave.
Nasty.
Doesn't help her because she still loses those bottom teeth. Mama Poke comes over and just rips those teeth, those bottom teeth out of her mouth, and oh God, as everybody's nightmare. Everybody's. My 3 days in hell, don't fuck with my teeth because that shit sucks. But she rips them up.
What's terrible about this is we actually see Mama Polk roll in there with the vice grips, and she basically says, my sons are trying to complete their necklaces, so open your mouth or I'm going to mangle your face. And we see Audrey, and for some strange reason, they really accentuate the rebel flag in this whole crazy endeavor. I don't know.
You want to pause for a sec?
Okay.
That sounds like something you want to elaborate. Did they put focus on the Confederate flag?
They did a lot in that scene. As soon as they actually showed Mama Polk coming down with the vice grips on Shelby's teeth, or not Shelby, excuse me, Audrey.
Big Shelby.
All we can see is the rebel battle flag in the background.
I noticed that, but I didn't think anything of it. Do you think that they're trying to, not they like the characters, but they as a production company are trying to push a certain political agenda by portraying the Polks as the kind of people that support the Confederate flag?
Well, these guys have actually been doing their own thing since the 1800s, so
they probably don't know any other flag or know what is going on politically, but they have TV. They're part of the United States.
Keep going. Start it back up. We see
you guys interpret that the way you want to.
We see Mama Polk actually hanging over Sarah Paulson, Audrey, telling her about how we are just going to keep carving the stuff off of you. The reason that we keep you alive is the fact that meat stays more clean if the person is still alive that we're carving it off of. Pretty nasty.
Just like in the road, if you guys have ever, I went through this earlier, but they're pretty much cutting off pieces of meat and cauterizing the wound so it heals and they can keep the victim alive to have more meat later, which is, oh God, like the worst thing I read in that fucking book. Ugh.
Well, Mama Polk doesn't realize that after she yanks out one of Audrey's teeth for her son's necklaces, that we go back to the scene where Monet has actually run away and the other two Polk brothers, son, uncles, whatever they are chasing
all of the above. Brother, son, uncles. Chasing her through the woods and just trying to catch up. And they haven't caught her yet, and they still haven't caught her as far as we know.
What's nasty about this is that she is still planning on carving some very interesting sections out of Sarah Paulson, Audrey. And the great thing about this whole horrific scene is that we finally see Lee come back in and knock out. She knocks out Paul, and that's when she gets freed. But we finally see what Audrey is capable of. She grabs herself a hammer and decides to smash in Malcolm's head. Pretty decent.
Well, they're on the scene, and Lee knocks her out, and then she frees Sarah Paulson's character Audrey. She's like, "Oh, thank God for you, thank God for you," and he's like, "Shh, shh, be quiet, just." And she's like, "No, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you," and then she has her freedom, and Sarah Paulson, Audrey, kicks her, and then has a hammer overhand, just several times. I loved her for that. I could watch that scene. Like, she fucking deserves it. Like, that is the end of the Polk line. Finally. Like, killing off that fucking wretched, degenerate, inbred fucking hillbilly family. Finally. The end.
Yeah, and then we finally go back to the Roanoke house. And that's when we see Lee, the real Lee, with Audrey, going back into the house and trying to figure out exactly what has happened and what has gone down. And we finally see Matt's body. And Lee, of course.
That's her brother. And they don't know it's him at first, and she sees him, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and then she figures out it's Matt, and she freaks out. I would freak out. Anybody would freak out. She's like, "Oh my God, Matt!" And Audrey is trying to comfort her. She's like, "Come on, we have to go, because whoever did this is probably still in the house." So she's like, "Come on. Just come on, let's go." Oh God, that was really sad. They don't know it was Shelby. They don't know it was Sarah Paulson's character that did that. It's probably almost the last thing from their mind. They don't know that actual people have turned against each other in the house.
As they approach into the house, they realize that there has been a lot going on, too. We see the crashed chandelier. The chandelier that actually ended up breaking Shelby's ankle. And as they proceed up the stairs, they realize that there has been some serious craziness that has been going on in the house where they have been absent. Oh, boy.
So Shelby and Lee are at the bottom. They're in the house. They're at the bottom of the stairs, and their whole point of going back into the house is to get medicine and like painkillers, which I would want that as well. And they just want like somewhere, like a haven where they can hang out. So she's like, "Well, you stay here. I'll go get it." She's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to come with you. So they both get up back into the bedroom. Again, we see Audrey put in her...
"Do you want a joint?"
"Do you want a joint? Here's a Burberry scarf for your head." Oh, man, I love her and I hate her at the same time, because they always put in her richness, but that's part of her character, how she is an actress, and she never ever stops talking about what a great actress she is. And I'm like, right now, I don't care about anybody. I want to live. Please, someone help me. But she's like, Burberry for your head, and then painkillers for your mind, which is great. So they're sharing a little moment. And you feel a little bit better because they're in the bedroom. They don't know what's in the bathroom yet. And they're just having a little moment to themselves. And it's kind of nice to have a break from all the chaos, the murder.
Until they go into the bathroom and they realize that Shelby is sitting there after she has sliced her own throat. And they actually encounter Dominic saying that she killed herself. And then they're like, what the hell?
Yeah, they walk into the bathroom and they're like, oh, fuck, what the fuck? It's Shelby. She's dead. And then they see Dominic in the corner and he's holding a murder weapon. He's holding a murder weapon, just like American Crime Story. Ooh, throwback. But he's holding the murder weapon, and immediately Lee blames Dominic for the murder of Shelby, and we know he didn't kill her. And he's like, yeah, it's on the tapes. You can just go back and watch it. And I was like, oh, it's so convenient that we can't go back and watch it. He's like, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't him.
This is the point where Lee and Shelby, or excuse me, Sarah Paulson, Audrey, they actually push him out of the room and they say, you know what, screw you.
Such a bad call.
It's some seriously crazy shit. They actually push him out of the room, and Lee says,
this made me so mad. Because you can't prove that he killed her. You can't. Why would you just... You've seen proof of crazy-ass shit happening, and then you're going to push out one of your own allies?
And as Lee pushes him out, we hear Audrey say that there is someone out there, that we need to let him back in. And we see Cuba Gooding Jr. as Dominic getting sliced up pretty nasty. And then
by the Pigman. Pigman's like, hey, death. So is Pigman that killed Dominic.
We come back and it's daylight. We think that daylight will definitely save these people. But we are very, very far from savior. It's not going to happen.
Well, only one person lives. So that's the whole thing. Like, one person lives. Like, okay, who's left? We don't know what happened to Monet. We see Shelby and Lee. They're in the house.
2 people live.
What do you mean?
You said one person lives. 2 people live.
Did you say 2 people live?
Well, yeah. We have Sarah Paulson as Audrey. And we also see...
No. The season's not over yet. Like, in the beginning, it says that one person lived through the whole thing. You might be right.
This is actually a very, very critical point for American Horror Story Roanoke, because we have left off at a point where a lot of fans are not happy. We're not. And I gotta face it, that this has been a very, very disappointing season 6 of American Horror Story. Not happy at all. They robbed us of 3 episodes. The episodes are only about 38 minutes long, maybe 40. They used to be at least 46 to 48 minutes long. And in all honesty, we've been getting all these updates from Ryan Murphy on Twitter about how Finn Whitrock was going to be the most insane diabolical character ever. And I think that was very, very lacking as far as that post goes. Whitrock stabbed in the head. Yeah, no. But anyways, we come back. We shoot the house. and we see Lee, the real Lee, still trying to help Audrey. And as they're exiting the building, yeah, the Roanoke house, we see this guy show up at the front door dressed in a pig mask and in a full-on pig outfit, and they hit him with the crowbar. And the guy who actually is at the front door is like, stop, 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 stop. And we come to realize that the guy at the front door is Wes Bentley. Wes Bentley, come on. The same guy who actually played the Ten Commandments killer in Hotel, and he also played Edward Mardrake in Freak Show. It's like, okay, we're getting some serious play on a lot of characters in this season. They're getting bounced around quite a bit. But in all honesty, we need to really, really see some serious shit happen in the next 2 episodes, or I am giving up on Roanoke.
Well, there's only 2 episodes left with Roanoke. I mean, we got Taissa Farmiga, who is supposedly going to show up, who we love her. She's amazing. As far as Wes Bentley showing up in the front of the mansion as dressed as Piggy Man, I honestly think that he is just trying to play an innocent joke on these people, like, hey, what's up? I'm Pigman, blah. Because he hasn't been there. Wes Bentley, his character, was not called back for the show. We haven't seen him as far as the second season of the show where everybody's integrated together. We haven't seen him. So I think maybe he shows up. I'm not sure why he shows up, but he shows up and it's a joke, because if you watch in next week's preview, and yes, we're going to spoil the preview because you can just go online and watch it, but they're yelling at him. Audrey and Lee are yelling at him saying this is not a joke. So that leads me to believe that he showed up in the pig mask as a joke. But if you also look at his costume, he is covered in dirt and not blood, but maybe some kind of bodily fluid, like he's wet with dirt. And he's also, the pig mask that he is wearing is very dirty, like it's been used. Also, that could be a prop.
Well, I think that Wes Bentley shows up at the end as an extra character, and I think that he was hired by Sydney before he died, obviously, to show up at a certain time to mess with the characters that were still in the house. But what is left with going on in the remaining characters in the Roanoke house, there is some serious shit going on here.
So who do we have left? We have Shelby. We have Audrey, the lady.
Shelby's dead. Shelby dead. Shelby knocked her on.
Shelby fucking died. She slit her throat. Okay, so we don't have her. We have Lee and we have Audrey. And now we have Wes Bentley. And the Skavik is still out there somewhere.
If anybody has been actually reading the fan theorems on Yahoo or whatever feed they like to choose, the Skavik was supposedly Taissa Farmiga, but I honestly don't see that. I went back and I watched it again. It does not.
What if the Skavik is Taissa Farmiga? And also, if you watch the preview for next week, we see some hikers, and one of the hikers has very Taissa type hair. I mean, it's the long, like, dirty blonde hair that we're used to with Taissa Farmiga. What if she's both? What if she's a hiker that is also the Skavik that's just, hanging out, looking at all the fucking wreckage. And they're trying to also tie this season into Coven in some way by saying that the Scavenge was the original Supreme, and then they say that Taissa Farmiga, who I love, is going to make an appearance. What if they tie the hiker Taissa Farmiga, the Scavenge, and the season and Murder House all together by having her all play the same character?
It's a very interesting theory, but here's
That's
the
a very
thing.
far-stretched
We don't
theory.
know what is going to happen at all. We have 2 episodes left, which sucks because normally there is 13, but only this season we got 10. And in all honesty, I am really, really hoping that Ryan Murphy delivers the way that we all expect him to do with American Horror Story. And there is still a lot of unanswered questions, but the one thing we do know is that there's only one survivor for the Roanoke Nightmare. And my theory is that he or she is not going to walk away from this clean. We're talking about prison time or asylum, some kind of crazy thing that's going to happen.
Because this season also ties into season 2, which we have not seen how it ties into season 2 yet, which was Asylum, based on mental hospital stuff. And also Lana, who was the infiltrator slash patient.
Lana Winters, the lady who actually
Lana
infiltrated the asylum to try and get some kind of a story on Bloodyface, who was the mass murderer at the time, who was skinning women. But we're not going to get too in depth on that. We are very, very much looking forward to the final 2 episodes of American Horror Story, My Roanoke Nightmare. Me and Miss Melody are going to be coming back at you probably tomorrow night, because for some strange unknown reason, episode 7 of The Creep decided to get effing blasted by some kind of weird internet gremlins. So we're going to come back and we're going to hit you up with that probably tomorrow night or the night after. Regardless, please leave your comments. Let us know how we are doing. Let us know what kind of questions you have. We have lots of theories when it comes to American Horror Story, especially with this season, because supposedly Ryan Murphy says that this is the season that ties them all together. We have seen lots of references, but not really been to the point where we are all satisfied as the fans we are. But anyways, we would very much like to hear what questions you have. Please leave them in the comments below. We will see you next Thursday, 9 p.m. sharp, Thursday night, for
Sharpish.
recapping episode 9 of American Horror Story, My Roanoke Nightmare. Thanks for joining us tonight. Always a special thank you to Tiny of Monkey Caviar, who made this whole thing happen, and we very much look forward to bringing you much, much more on American Horror Story. Have a good night.